Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our panel, Increasing Innovation Across the Canadian Payments Ecosystem. Broadening access to payment systems is amongst the most important issues in Canada's payment landscape. With forthcoming systems like the real-time rail offering potential for providers to deliver enhanced value, more choice, and more secure services to Canadians, a path forward to broader access is essential to spurring competition and safe innovation. In order to broaden access to Canada's payment systems, legislative change is required. In December of 2022, Payments Canada engaged a diverse coalition of organizations from across the payments industry to make a collective request of the federal government to make amendments to the Canadian Payment Act in 2023 to expand Payments Canada's membership eligibility to support broader access. This panel will discuss how broader access will benefit businesses, consumers, and the country as a whole. I'm expecting an engaging conversation, but before we dive in, let's start with introductions. So Hanna, I'll start with you.
I'm Hanna Zaidi, Chief Compliance Officer for our payments business at Wealthsimple.
Thank you. Grant?
Grant MacKenzie, President and CEO of People's Group, and People's Group consists of a federally regulated trust company, a Schedule I chartered bank, a card issuing business, and a merchant acquiring business, amongst others.
Great. And
Hi, everyone. Nick Catino, Global Head of Policy and ESG at Wise. We're a global payments technology company building the best way to move money around the world. We have 16 million people and businesses who use Wise to send, spend, and receive funds internationally. And we have Wise Platform, which is used by more than 50 banks and enterprises to integrate our services via API within their own platform. So EQ Bank, for example, is a customer. So I look forward to talking today about how payments modernization and expanded access to the payment system can improve services for not only our customers, but within the broader ecosystem.
Excellent. All right, so let's dive into the topic. Grant, you're first on the list here. In August of 2020, Payments Canada amended a rule to remove a participation volume requirement on the automated clearing and settlement system. People's Trust was the first indirect clearer to apply for direct clearer status. What motivated People's Trust to become a direct clearer on the ACSS?
Thanks, Tracey. Not the first time I've been asked that question. So I need to take you on a bit of a journey, actually, to answer that. Once we heard that volume requirement was being removed, it sparked a conversation within our company and our management team, and we laid that up against our strategy and what we wanted to do. Is we're a large provider of products and services to paytechs, fintechs, and access to the payment rails. We started to talk about, okay, this has been removed, what can we do with this? And we came to the conclusion quite quickly that it really lined up with our desire to expand our products and services and our utility hub as it related to banking as a service, fintechs, paytechs, as I said, and we decided to go for it. Once the issue was removed, we decided to step up and start to go down the journey of doing the hard work. So with that came a lot of angst and a lot of anxiety. And one of the things that I found very important through this journey was the leveling of the playing field as it relates to an indirect clearer versus a direct clearer. And this allowed us to apply our risk framework as it pertains to products and services. And we held that responsibility. I could no longer, have a pushback to someone else to say, can't do it. It was our responsibility now, which we take very, very seriously. So again, aligning up to our strategy, continuing to evolve our utility hub, build more products and services directed to our clients. That was the reason that we did it. And I want to tease out one last thing. There hadn't been a new direct clearer in Canada that's still active in 35-ish years. So what was missing? A book on how to do it. So we had a lot of hard work to do, and we created a playbook with Payments Canada and the 12 existing direct clearer participants in Canada, and there was a tremendous amount of collegial work that got done to create this, and I think, Tracey, probably took us 2 years to get it complete. So I'd like to thank those participants in the industry and our colleagues at Payments Canada. We're very proud of that achievement, and that's why we did it.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being first, and there's the playbook now.
Yep.
All right, Hanna, this question is for you. Wealthsimple recently became a Payments Canada member and was granted a direct settlement account at the Bank of Canada. What new possibilities do you envision at Wealthsimple by having direct access to payment infrastructure?
Yeah, thanks so much, Tracey. So maybe taking a step back and explaining a little bit of what Wealthsimple is. So at Wealthsimple, we aim to be the primary financial relationship for our clients. We serve over 3 million Canadians across the country. They're using us today for things like everyday spending, filing their taxes, paying their bills, investing. And so money movement is really core to that experience. And so as we become more integrated, we're adding more experiences, things like delays, working with multiple partners, laying those things together became challenging, and it wasn't the vision that we really want for our clients. So we knew that in order to realize the vision that we want, we needed to connect directly to the payment systems. And so in late 2021, we, through our securities dealer, Wealthsimple Investments, Inc., became a member of Payments Canada. And we were one of the first to do so, but we were the first securities dealer to actually build into the payment system and actually use it. And then subsequently in late 2022, we applied for a settlement account at the Bank of Canada for the upcoming real-time rail payment system. And we were the first non-bank, non-credit union to be granted a settlement account. So we're super excited about these milestones. Our clients are excited. We hope the industry is excited. And we're really envisioning some interesting use cases for all of these things. Like, for example, immediately started to utilize our Payment Canada membership. And to level the playing field with incumbents, we've launched direct deposit, bill payments, pre-authorized debit, multiple ways to move money in and out of our ecosystem. And of course, we're adding our own flair to it. And then for RTR, we're already imagining some use cases that we're really excited about, but of course, it's really contingent on the final specs of what RTR is going to look like, when it's going to be live. So I can't share specifics just yet, but one of the thought exercises I used just to get the brain juices flowing to sort of illustrate what are the possibilities with the real-time payment system. The example that I use, which is a bit exaggerated, which is instant wage disbursement. So imagine that you could choose to get paid on an hourly basis instead of biweekly. How would that change your relationship with money? Would you value it differently? Would you budget differently? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I mean, that doesn't really matter, but it's really just to get your thoughts flowing on what's possible. So we're really excited about what's going to be possible for RTR, and we have some exciting things lined up for you.
Great, thank you, Hanna. Nick, Wise had a transformative experience in the UK following the Bank of England's decision to allow broader access to UK payment systems. With broader access here in Canada, what do you think could be possible for Canadian businesses and consumers?
Sure, and gaining direct access was transformative indeed. And sitting next to a couple trailblazers here with their companies. The benefits for our customers were clear, for innovation and competition in the ecosystem, and financial stability as well. So going through those customer benefits. In the UK, by gaining direct access, this was in 2019, we were able to pass on a 20% price drop to our customers, and the average payment time went from 15 minutes, think about that, with an instant payment system, it was still 15 minutes by relying on the intermediary, to when we were able to originate directly ourselves, instant, less than 20 seconds. Subsequently, we gained direct access to the payment systems in Hungary and Singapore, and Australia will launch soon, and hopefully Canada too. And we saw similar things happen. In Hungary, passed on a price drop to our customers, and the percentage of payments that we consider instant, so less than 20 seconds, increased from 20% to 80%, again, by owning that relationship and payment ourselves. And so second, innovation and competition in the ecosystem. Before access was expanded, there were 18 direct participants in the faster payment scheme in the UK. That increased to 33 today, mostly fintechs, payment companies. And the benefits are now a lot more providers providing better services. It's probably part of why the UK is considered a fintech hub. And I think a lot of people here that follow would probably agree that their customers have a wide array of options and services and at low cost. And then third, on financial stability, regulators now have more visibility into retail payments, some of the largest retail payments originators. There's direct relationships as a result. And that's probably why the Bank for International Settlements, the central bank for central banks, has supported this, as has the World Bank, who has called for direct access to the payment system. Why? To help remittance senders, low-income immigrant communities who often pay 6% or more to send money abroad, often to support family and friends. They believe this is a key way to achieve the 3% price target, we're at 6% now, globally and in Canada, and 3% by 2030, which is a UN Sustainable Development Goal. So the benefits to us are pretty clear. It's customers, so that's consumers and small businesses that we'll probably talk about in a moment, innovation and competition, and then financial stability, all impacted positively by expanded access to the payment system.
Okay, you threw a number out there that nobody in this room will forget, that 20% number, we all heard it. So I'm curious, you've mentioned your connections in a bunch of different countries. Is that a consistent number across all of your implementations?
Yeah, absolutely. In Hungary, same thing happened. And in the UK, for example, our cost to originate that payment dropped 9x by relying on the bank partners, 35 pence, down to 4 pence when we can originate it ourselves versus the cost in that intermediary. So exactly, it's the cost of those intermediaries. When you eliminate that, our philosophy is to pass that on to customers.
Great, thank you for the clarification. Okay, with innovation, sometimes there is risk, and safeguarding against fraud, cyber threats, data and privacy breaches, those are all of critical importance, I think, to everybody in the room today. How can measures that ensure safety and security support innovation and growth and maintain trust? I'd also like to ask you if you can wind this into your answer, what do you feel about the risk of not innovating? So Nick, why don't I start with you?
Sure. Well, certainly the protection and safety of customers needs to be the top priority. Industry has a responsibility to keep customer funds safe, educate consumers, and prevent financial crime. From a policy perspective, the launch of a new instant payment system creates a lot of opportunities for rules and features and functionalities, as the previous speaker mentioned. So other countries have looked at fraud directories with an instant payment system, multi-factor authentication, confirmation of the payee, ensuring the recipient name matches. Those won't stop fraud entirely. Nothing will, but it's a good start. And the risk of not innovating is the status quo. There seems to be a recognition here that innovation and competition is lacking. Payments modernization will help probably pretty significantly. And that's because it'll lead to not just the more innovation, but the competition as well. Competition results in choice. Choice results in better services for customers. And that's, again, consumers and small businesses.
Great, thank you. Hanna, over to you.
Thank you. So a couple things, actually. I think Nick mentioned some really important things like fraud directories and collaboration within the industry. Everyone needs to do their part, especially when it comes to payment modernization, where we're introducing new risks. I think some of the challenges I see in the Canadian ecosystem is we definitely could do better when it comes to collaborating, especially when really prioritizing the end user outcome, the consumer, at the end of the day. And so things like having fraud directories, symposiums where we're sharing information, really tackling some complex cyber and fraud attacks that are happening. Actors are becoming increasingly sophisticated. And so collaborating is incredibly important, and that's something that we absolutely need to do better. And we can learn from other jurisdictions. There's examples of this being done really well. And then every institution needs to do its part. They need to invest heavily in their AML, compliance, fraud management, cyber, risk management, because it's an ecosystem. So if you are a weak actor, it impacts the broader ecosystem. At Wealthsimple, we've heavily invested in all these areas, and this has been recognized by regulators and policymakers. We need everybody in the ecosystem to do the same.
Okay, thank you. Grant.
I can only add reinforcement to all the comments that have already been made. Look, as a veteran of the mortgage market in a previous life, the mortgage business, this still is an ever-living danger, and it involves the movement of money. Fraud's never going to go away. We're in this ecosystem together. There's no finger pointing. There's no blame. What we're here to do is protect the end consumer. That's it. That's all. And we have to have, standard sets of rules, that we can all follow and make sure that we preserve the integrity of our payment system.
Agree.
Okay. I'm going to ask you another question, Nick, because you have more connections than all these other payment pioneers that we have here. But as you become a participant in a payment system, what are the obligations on you as a participant as it relates to fraud and protecting end users more broadly?
Sure, and I should note, part of why we've approached things as a global company is to take the highest bar possible. And so we've implemented proactively multi-factor authentication, even where it's not required, to cut down on fraud, customer notifications to make sure they're aware of trends that are happening. We've added friction within the platform where we've seen some tricky areas occurring. And as Grant was just mentioning, information sharing, I think is something that is a next phase of evolution here within industry to combat these challenges. There probably needs to be more, and that can happen within the system. And so fraud directories, for example, hopefully that is part of RTR. And in cross-border payments specifically, we're here talking about Canada, but it's ultimately a collection of domestic payment systems, and that's why it's really important that the global community works together to harmonize some of the requirements. And I think we're heading in the right direction.
Okay, just one more question on this topic, because it's an important one. We're all about protecting end users, consumers, businesses of all sizes. What do you feel their obligation is, the end user obligation, as it relates to fraud protection and looking out for themselves? Maybe I'll start with you, Hanna, on this one.
Have a strong password.
Okay, let's start.
Use two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication, like at minimum. I think we really try to educate our clients on how you can protect yourself. And I think that it's as good as our clients are able to implement those, but as an institution, you also have to have the features and functionality available for your clients to be able to do that, and not all institutions do, so I think that's really important.
Anything to add, Grant?
Yeah, the end consumer has ownership and responsibility in the transaction as well. They just can't self-select and say, you're responsible. Now, I agree with you, strong password is a good start, but also being cognizant, aware, and responsible for the actions that you're taking, and you really shouldn't be downstreaming that to someone else to blame them.
Well, I think we have an education obligation, I think, that we'll have to keep that current. Okay, thank you. We all know that payments play an important role as an economic contributor, and as a result, payments innovation is expected to create lots of opportunities and some challenges. What payment innovation do you think will be the biggest game changer for Canada? So, Nick, I'll start with you again.
Sure, we like to think about the customer problems that we're solving, and the biggest pain point is how long it takes for money to be sent, for the recipient to get it, and the cost involved. And there's also convenience and transparency as well that are important. Sending money should be like sending an email. It should be instant, should be low cost, maybe even free. That's a result of innovation, and it's the who that ultimately benefits. There's an example that demonstrates why this is so important that I learned of randomly within the last week. We had a customer whose mother needed an emergency medical procedure in another country. If they couldn't get those funds same day, the family had to take out a payday loan to fund it. Fortunately, through WISE, we were able to get that money from the sender to the recipient, pay for that medical procedure. She was able to get the help she needed. This didn't happen in Canada. Why? Because there's no instant payment system. This was a UK customer. Fortunately, in that situation, the money was able to move from the son to the mother and family to pay for that emergency medical procedure. That's why this is so important in the everyday lives of consumers. And for small businesses, we have for a lot, it's a trade economy. They are selling or buying goods and services abroad. And so the speed of payments, unlocking working capital, and the cost is vitally important. And if you look at some of the most forward-looking technologies around the world that I think a lot of companies here are already trying to replicate or perhaps create, things like account-to-account transfers, QR codes, mobile wallets, more payment options using simple identifiers instead of complex bank details. It's payments modernization that will help facilitate them, and it'll facilitate that innovation and competition from really it's the new entrants. That's what makes a competitive ecosystem. And part of how this is going to occur is through payments modernization. Instant payments on the way, new payments license coming is helpful for customer trust, open banking. The one that hangs in the balance is access to the payment system, the amendments to the Canadian Payments Act. It's crucially important. I hope this panel will help make the case for why these policy changes will define the future of innovation and competition in Canada.
Thank you. Grant?
I agree largely with everything Nick said, with the exception of maybe free.
I said low cost or free.
I know. I just wanted to key in on that one word. Look, I agree with everything that's been said so far, and we see a lot of change and opportunity. Access to real-time payments is critical for this country. We're a G7 nation. We should have that, and there should be the free flow of money as long as all participants are responsible and share their ownership and get educated. I can't reinforce that enough, and it's just super important that we do that. Yeah.
Okay. Hanna?
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, like Grant said, most G7 companies have real-time rail systems, and the U.S. government recently, the European Commission has said that the consumer benefits are substantive, and so they're mandating institutions actually opt in and require instant payment money movement in their jurisdictions. But I'll take a slightly different response as well. I think the real game changer for Canadians will also be like a proper implementation of open banking, not this industry-led approach that we're seeing with bilateral agreements between institutions where there isn't really a real tangible impact for the everyday Canadian. A proper implementation of open banking with data rights and portability at the core of it. And so the example that I used to sort of illustrate what open banking could do is I use the example of your phone number being portable. And so if you recall, over a decade ago, you gained the ability to move your phone number to multiple service providers, and it made clients way less sticky. And of course, telcos fought tooth and nail to prevent that from happening. Because clients were much less sticky, you can now shop around for whatever you're looking for in terms of price, coverage, features, functionality. Of course, I'm not saying there's much to be desired in terms of competition when it comes to our phone bills, but the idea being able to apply data portability to financial services, for instance. So you as a consumer are in control, can revoke access at any time. You can direct your data to whatever use case or service provider you want, and that would really force financial service companies to compete for your business. And so imagine the innovation that comes out of that. And we're seeing this in other jurisdictions, like Singapore, for instance, is using open banking as a tool to help Singaporeans prepare for retirement readiness. This is something that we also need to solve for in Canada. So I think open banking could truly be a game changer for Canadians.
Okay, interesting and helpful. Any other comments?
I can't help myself.
Go ahead.
One other issue that's going to bear itself is artificial intelligence. And I think that's, we all see the press every day. We see what's happening with ChatGPT, et cetera. It's going to be a challenge for us to actually identify who's who. So I worry about that.
I think you're right to worry about that.
Policymakers have their hands full right now.
Yes, they do.
Can't wait too long, though. All right. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing your expertise today. Obviously, a lot to talk about here, lots of things to anticipate. It's been an absolute pleasure to have this conversation with the three of you. Thank you for joining me on the stage today. Just for closing remarks, Payments Canada will continue to advocate for changes to the Canadian Payments Act in 2023 and to work towards making broader access to payment systems a reality in Canada. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.